Anyone can use a weapon, but the ninja is a weapon. Behold!
Now, them things there, if I was put them in my pockets, they'd get me for concealment of a deadly weapons.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to 3-Star Draw. I am down south 77, and this here is an adult collector channel where we primarily talk about G.I. Joe, look around, usually classified. Every now and then we'll take a look at some other stuff that I'm into, like to give you guys an idea of other things I like to collect, have on my shelf, and I'll bring you guys along with me when I do it. Today, however, is another G.I. Joe video because I was finally able to start getting some of this newest wave to trickle in because they're releasing a little over here and a little over there and one back there, but not all of them have all of them. So it's been really screwed up. I'm going to talk about that at another time. Not going to go off into it today, but today's figure we're going to be looking at, I was given the tip off by Lawrence over at A Punk with Toys the other day that this guy was actually available on Amazon, and I went over there and ordered him because mine was ordered from Pulse, and who knows when they're actually going to ship theirs out. I am, of course, talking about probably the most polarizing figure of this wave, number 131, good guy Storm Shadow. And we are going to be taking a look at him. I did get my original figure out. I don't do that very often, but there's been so much anger over this figure that I've seen. I wanted to kind of look at the differences between the two. I know a lot of people that have reviewed this figure have done that, but I'm going to do it too because I haven't done it in my words. So we're going to go ahead and check him out. We'll look at the original, talk a little bit about Storm Shadow and why this is version 5. Right, number 131, good guy Storm Shadow. G.I. Joe Storm Shadow goes out of its way here to mention that he is G.I. Joe. Got the star on it, got the star back behind it. Got this ugly carbon fiber stuff. And over here you got this artwork for him, number 131. On the back you've got him in front of a pagoda, looks like. Got some fire and stuff going on in the background. Got this bridge like it's running over a little stream or something. Highlights on the figure that we're going to look at in a minute. This stuff that I don't know what it means down here. Got your QR code, goes nowhere. Pretty standard stuff. So let's go ahead and see what he comes with. Popping him out of the box there is what he looks like. That's how he comes packaged. And he does come with his sheaths, scabbards, I guess, for his swords there, already attached. And this little piece here that fell out, it's like, what is that? This little piece that fits in and protects the sword sheaths from, I guess, from the box getting smashed or something. I thought that was interesting. I don't think we've seen that before. I don't remember seeing that before. So let's get him out and talk about some other Storm Shadows. But we're not here to talk about other Storm Shadows. We're here to talk about this Storm Shadow. We're gonna, but humor me. So I should have recorded trying to get this thing out. So much tape. I'd like to know what Hasbro's tape budget is. But trying to get his hands out of the package, I had to take my knife and cut the plastic on the tray for both of his Judy chop hands.
Like a Judy chop.
Because the back peg goes through the tray and the front part of the hand goes through the tray. So the whole hand is just locked in place. Usually you can push this from the back and push it out and then pull it out. That did not work here. As you can see, I've just about destroyed this, so nothing ever goes back in here, but just keep that in mind because I can see it possible if you're pushing on it too much. I can see possibly breaking the peg part that pegs in. All right, so let's get it out of the way now. This is not Storm Shadow V2. This is based on the Real American Hero Storm Shadow V2, but this is actually version number 5 in Classified. You got this guy over here, Arctic Mission Storm Shadow, that was actually based on V3 in Real American Hero. Then came, what came next? Then came the Snake Eyes movie Storm Shadow, which I don't have. I have it, but I don't have it open, and it is buried in my box, still in box classified collection, because I never have a need to open it ever. Then you got this Storm Shadow, which is my Storm Shadow. This is the Storm Shadow I prefer. Then you got the retro version of this, which is also carded hanging on my wall, which I didn't need to open because I have this one. Then you get to this guy, which is based on V2 Real American Hero Storm Shadow. So this is really V5, but I know we're all going to call it V2 because V2. I just had to say that. Everybody probably knows it, but I just wanted to point it out. It bugs me. All right, let's look at what he comes with. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about this figure. Made a lot of people, various things about this figure upset people. A lot of people are butthurt about this figure. This was never my favorite version of Storm Shadow, so I don't really care. I think he looks fine. You got the backpack with the quiver. We do not get a singular arrow to put anywhere with this guy. So there's no loose arrow like most of these type figures get. Seen this before. Pretty standard issue. They could have at least painted the rope. Charlie Bronson had a rope. Then we get the compound bow here. Has that part that actually stabilizer. That's what we've said this is. That one is on there really. I'm stressing the plastic trying to pull that out. So I'm not going to take that off. It does. There we go. Cover that up. I don't ever have a need to remove that, but it does come off. Most people don't like this bow. I think it's fine. I wish they would tool a new bow. This thing's come with everybody. It looks fine, I guess. It's kind of old news. It is bent. I don't think I've got one figure that come with this bow that it's not bent. Seems like maybe Naugahyde's wasn't too bad, but so there it is. People aren't fans of that. What else? Looks like he comes with a lot, doesn't it? So he does have these claws. These are the same ones that come with a Raptor, and I absolutely hate them. They don't clip onto his wrist. He's meant to hold them. Although I have seen somebody else say that he can actually hold them pretty well, so I guess we'll find out. Does come with a couple extra sets of hands. Comes with 2 fists. And he comes with 2 Judy chop hands.
Like a Judy chop.
All of the ninjas should come with Judy chop hands.
Like a Judy chop.
You can also use it as a salute hand. We've seen this hand before. This may be the one that came with Sergeant Slaughter. Quick kick. Either way, these characters should definitely have these hands because that's their stock and trade if they got to throw some hands.
There ain't no Judy chopping on that right yonder.
And then you got his rather dull looking katanas here. I mean, they're not bad. If they're going to do these, give us some metal. Painted metal on the blades, but you do have a little bit on the edge there. There you go. A little bit of, I guess, the hammering where the blade is folded is what that's supposed to be. I mean, they're not awful. They're just meh. And it does look like they screwed some paint up on this one. Like it doesn't go all the way up to the hilt stop. Is that what that's called? I don't know what that's called. So, and then at the bottom, They got kind of sloppy with it at the bottom. So, not great, but I mean, it is noticeable. I guess you could say maybe this one's coming unwrapped, where the hilt is wrapped with this red cord. I guess you can maybe, in your head say this one's coming unwrapped. I don't know. Already got a paint issue. So let's go ahead and take a look at the man himself. So I'll go ahead and say it. I don't mind this figure at all. This part right here though, like, you can't take these off. So I didn't realize that these weren't removable. And I can kind of see why people don't like that, but with this mushroom peg system that they use for everything for these swords, might not have been a bad idea to have them attached to his belt here. So check his head movement, move around. Can't really look up or down very well. This does not come off. This is something else that I've seen a lot of people really have a gripe with, was the hood's not removable. The hood was not removable here either, folks. You can't take that off of this figure. So I think a lot of people's issue with him is that he comes with this kind of samurai style skirt, I guess. I think it looks good, flexible plastic. I think a lot of the issue is you just can't get a lot of range of motion you should be able to get out of a ninjy. But I like the way the figure looks. So this was actually my least anticipated figure in this wave, just because I prefer Cobra Storm Shadow over G.I. Joe Storm Shadow. He does have the rope. Got some red ties on it here, red ribbon holding it together. Got some red cords here. I guess they're cords, not ribbon. Let's have some throwing knives here that look, I think those look pretty good. They got a little bit of paint on them, but a little bit of sloppy paint there, but it's not really noticeable down here, but looking at it through the camera it is. And back here he's got this back piece for part of his skirt. I'm gonna call it a skirt because I don't know what it is, but it's more of like a samurai style armor. These are, I mean, obviously thigh protectors. They're padded, but so then you do have his double scabbards here, red cord tied around those. Got boots, nice, and got the shin guards on the boots, and these little lip parts here that come up. A lot of detail in the boots. You can see where they're got the ties on them, like the connector pieces holding them together there. And then they got the cord at the top, cord at the bottom to tighten them up. Now, I get that this is kind of a really traditional style ninjy. Seems like he'd, use some modern footwear where he didn't have to have all those ties holding his boots on. But hey, what do I know? And does have his camel toe ninja boots there. They look pretty good. Some gray on the top of the foot. I don't really see much as far as messy paint, a little bit there, but that's not really enough to gripe about. It's not, you can't see it unless it's really, really close up. So not going to gripe too much about that. So let's see how he moves out of the package. Let's have butterflies. I mean, you guys all know, doesn't have bicep, does have bicep swivel. You guys know what the articulation is. I just like to see how loose or tight it is out of the package. Broke that loose there. That was a little tight on the left arm. Right arm. Bottom part of the elbow was, I got it to move, but buddy, it was really tight. But it's free. You're free now. You're free, elbow. So, and here's, I think, what everybody really wanted to see was Arashikage tattoo. Mine looks good. I hadn't really seen anybody that's like had any paint mishaps with it, but people would riot if the Arashikage tattoo was sloppy or messed up, wouldn't they? They'd probably be storming Hasbro HQ. That bottom part of that knee on that left foot, man, that one probably is going to need to require some heat. And that one does too. So not going. That's the amount of pressure I'm going to put on something before I decide to do heat. I know how far I need to go with it. Just ankles, because seems to stand okay. Alright, well, I'm going to hit the bottom part of these knees with some heat, see if we can't free them up. Right, back from Conair Land. Did take a pretty good amount of heat. So I got them broke free, and then I left them bent, and then I held heat on them while they were bent. They are still very, very tight, especially that left one, but I would rather them be better tight than loose, I always say. Let's have a torso ratchet that you cannot do much with. Like, that's about it. He can, if he wants to look down, that's it. So I can see why people do have a serious problem with this belt. A lot of people have removed it. It's not something I'm gonna do. I don't do that with my guys. I don't start cutting on them and things. But you know, you do you if you do. All right. Check him out with his swords here. Before we put some different hands on him. Make sure I get these actually facing the right way. There he is. So he looks pretty fearsome with the two swords. There, that one, he's going to throw that one. So he's going to throw that one at Scarlet so Snake Eyes can catch it. What if he'd have killed Scarlet when he did that? Guys, remember when he did that in the comic? It would have changed all of G.I. Joe forever if he'd have done that. Let's try these. So these things I'm just not a fan of. Maybe if they attached to his wrist. So he actually can hold these. Raptor really doesn't hold them, but he actually can. So as you can see, this one back here is the 3-0 Arctic Storm Shadow. And I do have those on him because I think they look pretty cool. But on him, of course, they attach kind of to the top of the fist there, kind of Wolverine style. I don't mind these if the character can hold them. So they actually don't look too bad. And of course, this guy come with them. Now, I don't have any of his accessories anymore, but I believe his swords and backpack were red. And I saw people upset about that. Like, I'm not going to be upset that they gave a classified figure a bright red ass backpack and red swords when the rest of him is pretty much all white. I don't care if it does match this. This backpack does not have a particularly long peg, although it does go in. It does fit in there pretty well. Let's start with swords in his sheath here. See if they go in. Because this dude really looks way more like a samurai than a ninja. Does he not? I think that's probably some of people's gripe with him. And then you can't remove the hood. Again, non-removable hood. He's trying to disguise himself. You can't see his face except for his eyes. Let's look at his eyes. He's a little cockeyed. That right one's kind of looks like it might be doing its own thing, but they're centered. It's not that really that noticeable, so I ain't gonna worry too much about that. The bow, just for posterity, because this dude is gonna look good holding this bow, but it's just this bow is meh. I had this Storm Shadow, the Cobra one. I had him for a long time posed, drawing the bow. I thought that was a pretty good looking pose for him. So this guy does have these more rigid fingers with the newer hand plastic. Makes it really hard to get stuff in their hand. Don't want to heat the hand too, but because the way the thumb is made, sometimes you have to, because it's that thumb kind of hooks in. There, finally. Okay. So there you go. You can't even get him over to where he's firing it that way. But you can get enough to where he's drawing the string back. If you can actually get it through this hand. So all this to show you guys a bow that I hate. That's how much I love you. You get the idea. He's also really hindered by his overlay, this top part here with the rope and the padding here. So you can get both hands on it where he's firing. You can actually, that ain't actually how you would fire a bow, but you can make do. It's a toy. So I'm not a big fan of the bow. This guy, if he's even posed with anything, I will have his swords in his hand. Let's check him out with the Judy chop hand.
Cause I could be a Judy chopping and a kung fu kicking, and there goes your leg. You know, there ain't much calling for a one-legged ninja out there.
Doesn't look too bad there. Get him like he's getting ready to strike with the Arashikage. Arashikage strike. So this is a pose that I dig for him, is fist and Judy chop. He's okay. Drop down hips. Yep. Good drop down hips. So that's about as much as you can get there with the old Jean-Claude Van Damme, as Punk likes to say. You just can't get, he doesn't move very well. Like, he's just too bulky. I see people that really like the ninjas. I do see their issues with this figure. So I can kind of see how people do not love this figure. And I forgot how this thing plugs in here. I think I got it. Nope, don't have it upside down. How does this bow go in here? I think it just snaps on like that, doesn't it? It don't seem like that's going to stay with this guy. That is definitely not going to stay. I don't remember how this bow even fits on here. I can't get it to, I mean, that's not very tight. It's there. I guess that's it. Oh. Fits in there okay. I mean, if he's just on the shelf and you want all this stuff on him, but I don't. I don't really care for the backpack. I don't really care for the bow. I may have him with one of the claws. Give him a Judy chop hand and a claw hand. He's a force to be reckoned with.
You got your Judy chop, all right. You got your karate chop, and you got your ninja chop.
I'm going to be a force to reckon with if one of these days I'm trying to stretch the hand out to put a weapon in it and it breaks from stress fracture. So there we go. That looks okay. All right. So we've seen everything that he comes with. They are pretty faithful on the camo recreation. I mean, it's a lot darker. It's a really, really, really dark gray, and this one is more of a light gray. They recreated it pretty faithfully. I mean, the figure's, 2 inches taller, so they have more room to add more camo. So it's not going to look exactly the same, but they got a lot of the stuff in similar places. So there is your Storm Shadow V5/V2. As you can see, my Storm Shadow here is still in pretty decent shape. I don't know what that is on his knee. It's because I didn't play with this guy a whole lot. Now, my cousin absolutely loved this figure, and I know a lot of people got into the line when this was their... Oh, now you're not going to stand. So I know a lot of people got into the line, and this is their Storm Shadow. People that are a little younger than me got into the line late, or they really prefer G.I. Joe Storm Shadow instead of Cobra Storm Shadow. That's fine with me. I've just always liked him better as a Cobra, although he was really only a Cobra for like 50 issues of continuity or something. All right. So, Storm Shadow is a G.I. Joe member. He's not great. He looks fine, but he comes with some pretty shoddy gear. It's all reuse, and they kind of botched the figure with this belt with the fixed scabbards. I gotta say, I'm not a fan of it either. Now, I don't mind the way it looks. The way it looks great. I think it looks great, but it really hinders a lot of what you want to do with a ninja figure. You can't really do a lot of cool ninja stuff with him. You're not going to be able to get a bunch of high kicks if you pose him on one foot. Drawing the bow, this gets in the way, and his ab crunch only goes to there. It should have one more downward looking down ratchet, but you can't get it. It's tight. The figure is tight. All the joints are nice and tight. Nothing's loose. He does stand. He's got decent ankles. But all of the extra stuff that they went on him that they put on him, tried to make him look a little bit cooler, really detracts from what you want out of this version of Storm Shadow. So I tend to agree with the way people have been talking about this guy. I think he looks great. So that's really the only thing that's given him any kind of brownie points, is that he does look fabulous. Fabulous. So if you want to take this off, you're going to have to cut it. I don't think you might be able to get this really hot, really, really hot, and slip it off over the legs. So I don't know. I'm not going to try it. He's okay enough for me, but that's the problem, is he is just okay. G.I. Joe Ninja Storm Shadow is a 3.5 yeehaws from me. It's just not a good figure. It's a good looking figure. It's not a good figure. This guy looks infinitely better. I've never opened him, but this figure looks way better. Now, I've heard people really talk about how bad the construction of this figure is. I've never actually held one, but if you look, I mean, he's got the longbow, he's got the gold the arrows with the gold flights, the grappling hook, the sickle, the sword looks way better. And this was number 14 in the line. And he is number 131 in the line. So you got 100 figures separating these guys. And they got the construction right. But, I mean, this figure looks way better, in my opinion. And he was a Joe too here. 3.5 yeehaws, guys. I was hoping that he would rate a little higher, but what people have said about him, I feel too.
Don't go ninja nobody, don't need ninja.
If you can get this off of him, you'll probably have a better figure and might be happy enough that you can't really remove the hood. Though I've seen people do it. Again, you're going to have to cut it off, and I just don't do that to my figures. So if you guys like this review, let me know what you think down in the comments. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll be seeing you real soon, because there's a couple more figures in this wave, isn't there? We're going to have to talk about them before long. I appreciate it, guys. I'll see you next time on 3-Star Draw.
Like a Judy chop.